Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today my topic of presentation is life tables and life expectancy. Qad aflaha min zakkaha. He has succeeded who purifies it. My topic of learning objective of my presentation is introduction of life table, brief history of life table, various type of life tables, construction, Lexis diagram, life expectancies, recent advances. Learning outcome. By the end of this presentation, participant will be able to describe the introduction, brief history, types, construction of life tables, and life expectancy. Introduction. In actuarial science and demography, a life table, also called mortality table or actuarial table, is a table which shows for each age what the probability is that a person of that age will die before their next birthday. It is actually the probability of death. In other words, it presents the survivorship of people from a certain population. Life table is also a mathematical sample which gives a view of death in a country, and it is a basis for measuring the average life expectancy in society. According to Bogue, the life table is a mathematical model that portrays the mortality condition at a particular time among a population and provide basis for measuring longevity. It is based on age-specific mortality rates observed for population for particular year. Barclay defined that the life table is life history of hypothetical group or cohort of people as it is diminished gradually by death. The record begins at the birth of each member and continues until all died. A life table can be constructed for country and an area on the basis of gender, occupation, race, etc. Life tables are usually constructed separately for men and women because of their substantially different mortality rates. History of life table. It is also described as barometer of population by William Farr. It means it describes mortality, survival, and other vital events in the population. History of life table. John Grant in 1620 to 1674 said that natural and political observation made upon bills of mortality. This is a John Grant life table. Also, and the sociologist economist Edmund Halley in 1656 to 1742 said that an estimate of the degree of mortality of mankind drawn from curious table of the births and funerals at the city of Breslau. It is actually this is the table of life Edmund life Halley life tables. Now various types of life tables. Most important, there are two types of life tables known as period static current conventional life table, vertical life table, or time bound life table. This period or static life table shows the current probability of death for a people of different age in the current year. Another life table which is most important is current cohort life table, generational life table, horizontal life table, or dynamic life table, which shows the probability of death of person from a given cohort, especially birth year, over the course of their lifetime. Cohort life table is most preferred method, whereas period life table is least preferred method. The cohort or generational life table actually summarizes the age-specific mortality experience of given birth cohort for its life and thus extend over many calendar years. Period life tables summarize the age-specific mortality conditions pertaining to given short period of time. Cohort life table actually requires the information on actual mortality experience of group of person born at the same point of time called birth cohort, when the cohort is followed from the birth over age until the death of last member of the group. Construction of cohort life table is quite difficult because due to requisite information is required for long period of time which is rarely available and effective requisite information due to various difficulties encountered involving their lifetime. The cohort life table or generational life table is actually a longitudinal life table because the cohort is constructed on the basis of sequence, for example, Q node, Q2, Q3, and so on. Its main advantage is its conceptual simplicity, and disadvantage is very long term for which data are required and to which mortality risk are referred. The lifespan of cohort represented by N can be anywhere near 100 years or since the upper limit of human age is 100 years. Cohort life table is useful in studies of some animal population and also used for analysis of patient survival in studies of treatment effectiveness. Another life table, which is current or conventional life table or calendar year life table, is actually most popular in demographic analysis and is actually give a cross-sectional view of mortality experience at different age in given population, close to migration during a specific calendar year or short period of time. It scans out the lifespan of each individual of hypothetical cohort. Current or conventional life table actually provide what the longevity of newborn infant if the infant same mortality schedule could be assumed throughout his whole lifetime. The current life table is such a fictitious pattern reflecting the mortality experience of real population. Its main advantages provide measure localized in time such as change in expectation of life at birth from 1 year to next. Its main disadvantage is conceptual complexity. The static life table of sample individual assuming a stationary population with overlapping generation. The static life table or cohort life table will be identical if the population is equilibrium and environment does not change. And the constant number of people each year in population mean that probabilities of death from the life tables are completely accurate and exact number of people were born each year with no immigration and emigration involved. Life table primarily we talk about is the period life table as the cohort life table can only be constructed using data up to current point and distant projections for future mortality. Other type is complete life table, which is actually the contains data for every single years of age from birth to last applicable age. It is called unbridged life tables. And a bridge life table is actually the life table which shows the data by intervals, for example, 5 years interval, 10 years interval, except in initial years. And it is most commonly the average life table which showed. Another type, single decrement life table. In this life table, only one cause of death and only one characteristics are considered at a time. In multiple decrement life table, the table describes the separate and combined effect of more than one characteristics. It may consider more than one cause of death. For example, in single decremental table, one cause of death is considered. In multiple decremental table, various causes of death combined. Construction of life table. Life table prerequisites is population. We should require population living at all ages, individual ages in selected period, and number of deaths that required in these ages during the selected period. Construction of life table is actually it is constructed from consensus data sources and death registration data that also from vital registration or retrospective analysis. It can be constructed for age, gender, ethnic groups, occupational groups, and so on. Cohort or current life tables are classified according to reference years, whereas unbridged, which is known as complete or abridged life table, is classified according to length of age intervals, whereas single or multiple decrement life table is classified according to number of characteristics. In the complete life table, the life table functions are computed for each year of life. In average life table, the functions are presented for age interval more than 1 year in life, accepting possibly the first year or first 5 years of life. Some assumptions of life table, we can consider hypothetical cohort of life table usually consists of 1,000, 10,000 or 100,000 births. The deaths are usually distributed throughout the population. The cohort of people diminish gradually by death only. The cohort is close to in-migration and out-migration. The death rate is related to predetermined age-specific death rate. The cohort of person die at fixed age which does not change. There is no change in deaths over time, and the cohort of life tables are generally constructed separately for male and female. There are many methods for constructing life table. For example, we can construct a life table on the basis of single cross-sectional time data per generation, which is known as period life table. We can also construct a longitudinal life table, which is also known as cohort life table, which take a real cohort of person that start a life and specific time and then follow throughout the life. We can construct a complete life table, a bridge life table, which is grouped after in 5 to 10 years of age. The form of life table is actually non-parametric and it is model of survival not expressed in proportion. A life table, general life table has following column. It may has generally has 7 column, but some life table has additional column. Column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Column 1 actually denote X, 2 denote IX, DX, QX, LX, TX, and ESZ, which represent the life expectancy. It is some donation, which is PX, which is mid-year population. DX is number of deaths. MX is age-specific death rate. AX is also average fraction of last years. QX is actually the probability of dying between X and X plus 1. And IX is number of people surviving to age X. DX is number of deaths between age X and X plus N out of life table cohort. LX is number of years lived between age. TX is total number of person years lived after age, and EX is life expectancy at age. This is column X shows age, number of persons represented by K, number of deaths, N is size of heart, M is central death rate, probability of dying is presented by Q, and a number of survivors is presented by Ix, number of deaths at Dx, number of years lived between Ix minus 1 is presented by Lx, and total number of years lived Tx, and X is actually presented by average number of additional years expected at age X and beyond, which is actually the life expectancy. This is the life expectancy table of hypothetical cohort of complete life table for India from 1971 to 80. It is 8 column, which is age, X is given, Dx is death rate, and following Qx is probability of dying, Px is probability of surviving, and therefore so on. Ex is actually presented the life expectancy at various ages, and this complete life table, and it is actually the cohort life table because it is present the age interval periods from 1971 to 80. So on column 1 it presents the specific age, column 2 number of deaths, column 3 the number of persons surviving, column 4 is probability of death per person, and the column 5 and the probability of surviving, column 6 Lx number of years lived by cohort in person, and column 7 total number of years lived, and the column 8 is actually the life expectancy. In short, the life expectancy table is actually based on death period of particular population. By studying table, we show the probability of death of any person of any particular age group. And it is noted that every person of particular age group does not die according to estimate of life table, and the life table only shows a trend. And there is various life table is actually the life table of a complete average life tables in which of Brazil 2002, and it is actually the static life table because it represents the single year 2002, and in this 8 column is given X, Dx, Mx, Qx, and Ix, and various age groups. It is also the life table of cohort born in 1900 and surviving until 200, because in this given the lifespan is given, and life, therefore this is a cohort life table. It is also the life table which shows initial estimated graduated value of Mx from female 2001, and it is also the static life table because it presents the data of single year. And further life table also it is a complete period life table of male 2001 data, which actually shows the complete life year from the birth to 25 years of age, therefore it is complete life table. And in a average life table it is given after 5 to 10 years of age. Now this is a type table in demography. Actually, there's some difference in life table in clinical medicine, which is most common approach to survival analysis, and it is also called as Kaplan-Meier life table method or product limit method. And it is also and in the life clinical life table, actuarial method of life table analysis is used if there are a large number of subjects, but the Kaplan-Meier method are advantageous if the number of subjects are small. And actuarial method or life table analysis calculate the survival rates based on fixed interval, whereas Kaplan-Meier method calculate the interval as uneven. Therefore, the deaths are not conceived of occurring during an interval, rather they are seen as instantaneous, terminating one interval and beginning a new interval. Therefore, a clinical life table is somewhat different from the demographic minor different. A clinical life table is actually a fundamental technique of survival analysis that deal with time to event. For example, a basic example is time to death, and it can answer the question of survival after being diagnosed with disease or after beginning the treatment. The event may be any event, not just death. It can be relapse, receiving organ transplant, pregnancy, failure of treatment, or recovery. It handles variable time of entry and withdrawal of individuals from population. It calculates cumulative event-free probabilities and generates survival curves in clinical life table. Assumption of clinical life table development is there are no change in survivorship over calendar time. The experience of individuals who are lost to follow up in the same as the experience of those who are followed. Withdrawals occur uniformly within the interval. Events occur uniformly within the interval. For example, in the example of clinical life table, we can consider a group of 200 subjects which were followed for 3 years, and the deaths occurred throughout the 3 years. Therefore, what is the chance of surviving at the end of 3 years? It is the 3 years, 1 to 3, and the deaths occur in 3 years is in 1 year 20, second year is 30, and third year is 40 deaths. And number of beginning of the subject is 200, which is also shown in graphical presentation. Therefore, we can calculate about the probability. Various notations are used in IT, which is actually the number of alive at the beginning of time t. Dt is number of deaths during the time interval. Qt is actually the probability of dying during the time interval, which is calculated by dt divided by it. Pt is probability of surviving, which is calculated from 1 minus qt from minus from the probability of dying. And pt, capital P, is actually the cumulative probability of surviving at the beginning of time interval. For example, at the beginning of time, the probability is 1 is equal to 1, and then so on probability is p2 is equal to small p1 into capital P1, and p3 is in small p2 capital P2, cumulative probability. This is actually the example of table which shows interval 3 years interval, and the it is the subjects 200, 180, 150, and it is the deaths occurred over 3 years, 20, 30, and 40, and it is actually the probability of dying, which is calculated by dt divided by it. And pt is actually the probability of surviving, which is calculated 1 minus qt. And greater p is actually cumulative probability of dying, probability, and which is calculated by multiplying the P2 is calculated by multiplying the P1 small p into large P, then we can assume the 0.9. And for P3, we can multiply the P2 into P2, smaller P into greater P2, and we can get the P3, and so on. This is actually the example which I discussed previously in the case when the observation or individuals are not lost or followed. This formula we can use, and this is stable. But there is term censoring, in which the observation are considered to be censored or lost due to individual withdrawal from the study or lost to follow up, or the individual lack the interest in the mid of study, or individual experience an event which precludes the event of interest. In these cases, those who are censored during an interval are assumed to have been followed an average for half of the interval. In this case, this table change throughout, and there is some additional notation. For example, we add the WT column, which is actually the number withdrawn censored during the interval, and we get the I dash number of adjusted number of risk of event in the interval, which is calculated from IT minus WT divided by 2. Therefore, the two more column is added in case of censoring in the clinical life table. All other columns are same and calculated in the same way. Therefore, from the previous example, if there is withdrawal 50, 40, or 20 from the people, we can calculate I dash T, and qt is actually the from the same. Pt is also 1 minus qt, and pt is also by dividing multiplying the cumulative frequency as described previously. Another method of calculating clinical life table is Kaplan-Meier method, which I already described as survival analysis method, which is similar to clinical life table, and it chooses the exact time that events occur rather than intervals of follow-up. It is a probability of event is equal to number of events at that time divided by number of people at risk at that point in time. If they are withdrawn before the time event, they are subtracted from number at risk. For example, in the we can take the example the events are occurred at 4, 10, 14, and 24 month. There will be 4 rows in table. All other calculation Q, P, and there's and capital P are the same. The calculated cumulative probability of surviving is for that of point. So up to the point we can develop the KM plot. When there is no event, the survival curve in the Kaplan-Meier plot will drawn horizontally over time and only drop down at the time of events or death to calculated cumulative probability of surviving. For example, time of death is given, number of alives dt, and qt, also the probability of dying, probability of survivor pt, and is it greater p is cumulative p, which is calculated as described earlier. It is actually the survival curve, which is in the y-axis shows the probability of surviving, and x-axis shows month after enrollment. Kaplan-Meier method is actually therefore time of death in 4 subjects is presented by from 0.8, 0.3, and 5.4, 9.2 months, and time of loss to follow up after censorship is 1.0, 2.7, 7.0, 12.1 months. Uses of the plan-where method, it take advantage that this information labeling calculation useful for when there is small sample size studies, clinical studies use. It can also use to display prognosis over time. It can also estimate for comparison purpose in clinical trials when group are similar and adjustment is not needed. For example, we can also compare the graphic representations group 1 and group 2. Test of significance, if we can use to see the difference between actuarial survival curve, then we can use the T test and Z test. And if used, we can use difference between the plan mere curves, then we can use the log rank test. Or for adjustment for potential confounder variables, we use Cox regression analysis, which is population hazard model in SPSS. Uses of light table. It is used by demographer to measure and analyze the mortality of longevity of population or one of its segment. It is also used by insurance companies to compute premium, by research workers to determine whether the difference in mortality of longevity of two groups are significant. Also used to predict survival or likelihood of death. Used by public health and medical problems. Also used to illustrate how a specific death rate affect a population. Cohort life table follows a definite group of cohort from birth, which is also useful. Importance of life tables used to project future population on the basis of present death rate. It also helps in determining average expectation of life. This method is constructing life follow to estimate cause of death, male and female death rate. We can also the survival rates in death can use to calculate net migration rate on the basis of age distribution. It can also be used to compare population trend at national life and international level. It can use based on the based on age at marriage patterns and changes in them can be estimated. It can also used for analyzing socioeconomic data in the country. It can also use for formulating family planning program relating to infant mortality, maternal mortality, health programs, used for evaluating family planning programs, life insurance companies, helping determining the amount of premium to be paid by person falling in specific age groups. It can also, if the insured person dies before the policy mature, the life table provides economic support to insurance company. There is some weakness of life table as life tables can be constructed using projections of future mortality rate, but more often they are snapshot of a specific mortality rate in the recent past, and therefore they do not necessarily influence to the projections. For these reasons, the older ages represented in life table may have a greater chance of not being represented of what lives at these ages may experience in future. So it is predicted on current advances in medicine, public health, and safety standard that did not exist in early years of cohort. A life table is constructed by mortality rates and consensus figure from certain population ideally under a closed demographic system. And this means that immigration do not exist when analyzing a cohort. And closed demographic system assume that migration flows at random and not significant, and that immigrants from other population have the same risk of death as an individual from new population, and it is difficult to maintain closed demographic system. And there are also weakness of information displayed on lifetime, and sometimes there is do not state the overall health of population. There is also more than one disease present in the world, and the person can have more than one disease at different stages. Therefore life table do not show the direct correlation of mortality and morbidity. Life table actually presents the health expectancies such as disability adjusted life years, are remaining universe of years of person can expect to specific health rate such as disease free. And life table actually divide the life expectancy into two types of life tables: multi-state life table, which is known as increment decrement life table, which are based on transient state in and out of different states and to death; prevalence based life tables, which is also known as Sullivan method, which are based on external information on proportion in each state. Life tables can also be extended to show life expectancies in different level for state or marital status. There is a Lexis diagram, which is named after economist and social scientist Wilhelm Lexis, which is a two-dimensional diagram used to represent the events such as birth and deaths that occurs to individual belonging to different cohort. Calendar time is usually presented on horizontal axis while age is presented on vertical axis, and in some cases y-axis is plotted backward. It is actually the trajectories of individual or cohort through time. It is a blend of cohort and period life table. It is shows the estimation of people in specific year cross-sectional, and also shows the comparison of group of individual followed simultaneously to time and age, which is cohort. This is actually the Lexis diagram. In x-axis shows the date and y-axis shows the age. and it is blend of cohort and period life tables. Life expectancy. WHO defined life expectancy as average number of years of person expected to live on the basis of current mortality rate and prevalence distribution of health states in a population. It is denoted by EX, which means that mean number of subsequent years of life for someone now aged X according to particular mortality age experience. For example, from various historical life expectancy data in Pakistan, from 2015, life expectancy is 66, and now 2021 it is 67, and growth rate from moved from 0.3 to 0.2%. And if we see various life expectancy of country, the maximum life expectancy is 77, which is actually the Sri Lanka, and Pakistan life expectancy is 67. Life expectancy also varied according to male and female gender. For example, from 2009 to 2019 by gender, it shows that female has a life expectancies which is 68.9 as compared to male which has 66.34 life expectancy in 2019. Life expectancy actually the most common measure with and at birth and which can be defined in two ways: hard life expectancy birth, which is actually the mean length of life of actual birth cohort and can be computed only for cohort born many decades ago so that all their members have died. Period life expectancy birth, which is the mean length of life of hypothetical cohort assumed to be exposed from birth through death to mortality rate observed at a given year. Life expectancy, there is some difference between longevity, maximum lifespan, and life expectancy, and these are not synonymous. Life expectancy at birth takes account of infant mortality and child mortality, but not prenatal mortality. Life expectancy is actually the mean number of years lived remaining for individual or group of people at given age, whereas longevity is the characteristics of relatively long lifespan of some member of population. Maximum lifespan is the age at the death for longest individual of species. There's various factors affecting life expectancy. For example, age life expectancy increases as age as the individual survives the higher mortality rates associated with childhood. There's also regional variation in developing countries. There is less life expectancies and due to various difference in public health, medical care, and diet. Socioeconomic factor, the most important factor which are affecting the life expectancy. It is more in wealthiest and richest countries due to the diet and lifestyle access to healthcare. It is also affected by environment. For example, lower life expectancy due to high air pollution, industrial air pollution. Also affected by occupation. Coal miners and asbestos cutter have low life expectancies than average. Genetics also affect life expectancies. Mental illness 10 to 25 years reduction in life expectancies. Various medical conditions, diabetes, Alzheimer, transplant rejection, obesity, serious disease have lower life expectancies. Their gender differences, female human life expectancy is greater than that of male. Education all have the shown to be strongly associated with increased life expectancy because it may be partially associated with increased income. Use of life expectancy. It is used in plant or animal ecology or in life table known as actuarial table. The term and concept of life table may also used in manufactured objects through the related term shelf life, commonly used for consumer product. The terms mean time to breakdown and mean time between failure is also used in engineering. Life expectancy actually assumes the age-specific death rate for the year in question will apply throughout the lifetime of individual born in the year. This estimate in fact projects the age-specific mortality rate for a given period of time and therefore the measure different considerably by gender, age and race. Therefore, life expectancies commonly for specific categories rather than for population in general. Calculation of life. You can calculate life expectancy by life tables and it accuracy totally depend on complete length of consensus and death data. And there may be complete life table, average life table. You can also calculate life table by health life expectancy or disease ability free life expectancy, which is the average number of years a person is expected to live in the good health or without disability given current age specific mortality rate, disease and disability prevalence rate. Calculation of those figures requires reliable data, statistic errors, mortality or consensus data. Some recent advances. There is a paper published which shows that the intergenerational patterns of lifespan in Pakistan life table analysis. A set of life tables of 7 geographic areas of Pakistan is presented from demographic 2007 and it shows that there is life expectancy at birth for male is found to be 64% in Punjab and highest, and 54% for male in Balochistan. There also the urban areas of life have higher um, expectancy, and in Balochistan the pattern is that males have more life expectancy as compared to female. Another paper shows changes in life expectancy for cancer patient over time since diagnosis. This shows that the aim of study is to provide life expectancy estimate at diagnosis and life over time since diagnosis to describe the impact of cancer during cancer patient. And it was calculated by standard period life table methodology. And this shows that analysis that life expectancy is progressively increasing in patients surviving first years, decreasing thereafter, and to approach that of general population. And years lived in the long run mainly depends on attained life. Determinants of life expectancy and prospect under the role of economic misery. It is a case study and it shows the investigate the determinants of life under the role of economic misery. And it shows that there is health spending improves the life expectancy, food supply also, and there is rise in economic misery deteriorate life expectancy. And socioeconomic factor have main role. Also, there's also the exploring the usefulness of Lexis diagram quality improvement article published, which shows that visualization is important to practitioner in understanding the local health process. Therefore, they use the Lexis diagram to support quality importance and quality improvement through survival analysis, focusing on feedback timeless. And therefore, they showed that the Lexis diagram should be aid in understanding of survival data and help in physician for visualization and get a timely feedback. Now time for MCQs. A researcher conducted MCQs 1 conducted a life table analysis on the probability of dying of pregnant women of the Pakistani population in single year 2016. What kind of life table analysis are they conducting? Periods or static life table, cohort life table, complete life table, or average life table? What kind of life table? MCQs 1.
A.
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 Because it is given in single year, therefore it is a period of static life table. Correct answer alpha. A 21 patient with leukemia were followed after treatment over time. The time from treatment to relapse was observed for all patients. What will be the PT, the cumulative probability still in remission at 18 months? This is 18 months. What will be the cumulative probability of remission in still in 18 months? What will be the answer? It is actually the small calculation. We can use the P3 by multiplying the P2 small P2 into large cumulative P2. Therefore, when we multiply 0.57 into 1, the answer will be beta 0.5714. This is the calculation of MCQs 2. Therefore, this answer is 0.57. MCQ3 in life table analysis of birth cohort 2007 in ABC city, a demographer estimated that static life table and cohort life table identical and population was equilibrium. This estimate showed that the probability of death in life table is higher than expected. More immigration involved in population, more immigration involved in population, no immigration involved in population.
D.
D. Because it is a static, the population is and population always equilibrium when there is no immigration and no immigration involved, and static and cohort life tables are similar. Now, MCQ 450 patients with skin leukemia were treated in one hospital during time period October 2000 June. Patients were followed annually. The study was closed to patient follow-up in December 31 to 2005. 20 patient tests occurred and 30 observations were censored due to withdrawal or lack of follow-up. What is the cumulative probability of 2-year survival rates? What will be the probability of 2-year survival? This is actually given the data. What is the probability? You can calculate the probability by multiplying the 0.8 from 0.2 by multiplying. Therefore, P3 will be 0.699, which is actually the delta. MCQs 5. A Miss Aisha public health consultant evaluate the family planning program in ABC city using maternal mortality rates of pregnant women from 15 to 45 years of age. She constructed life tables showing life expectancy of 4, 5, and 10 years age groups of pregnant women. What kind of life table did she construct? Period, cohort, complete, average life table. A, B, C, D, or which option? Delta, a breech life table because she constructing the life table for every 5 and 10 years of age group of pregnant women. Therefore, the most suitable kind she constructs is delta or a breech life table. A group of 100 subjects of esophageal cancer were followed for 5 years of death occurred throughout the 5 years. What will be the probability of surviving in the 5 years of time interval? What is the probability of surviving? Probability of surviving is actually the P2, which is calculated from 1 minus QT. Therefore, at 5 years, it is 1 minus 25, 2.5, which will be 1.5 alpha. A demographer in ABC country performed a life table analysis and estimated that future 5 years life expectancy of people born in 2008 would be age 65 years, for age 66 in 2019, for age 67 in 2020, 68 in 2021, and 69 in 2022, and so on. What kind of life table analysis he conducted? Period life table, cohort life table, complete life table, and average life table. At this
B.
B, because the data shown in generation or in successive or projected over time, therefore beta is correct answer for heart life table. A researcher wants to present the cause of death of data women of reproductive age group in ABC city due to ovarian and tubular cancer figure stage 3 and 4. Patient that underwent surgery diagnosed from 1 into 2008 to 31 into 2016 through life table analysis. But which diagram she will use for this presentation of data? Pie diagram, scatter plot, Lexis diagram, linear regression plot.
C.
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 C is correct answer because Lexis diagram is used to present the cohort and period life table and demographic analysis. Pie's diagram scatter plot is used for correlation, linear regression don't fit, and pie diagram is also don't fit in this scenario. MCQs 9, Mr. Akbar wants to research of his MPhil project on the determinants of life expectancy in the presence of economic misery using Pakistan time series data from 1972 to 2020. The most important factor determinant affecting life expectancy he should consider while collecting his data will be mental illness, medical conditions, occupation, genetics, or socioeconomic factors. What will be the
E.
most important? E. Socioeconomic. All the other factors may affect, but the socioeconomic factors are most important factors. Mr. Ali wants to estimate the life expectancy of head and neck cancer types by age, by gender, age, and diagnosis, and to compare them with those from the age and gender matched general country population to better because of to see the changing impact of cancer on life expectancy over time by using the population-based country using a single calendar period, which is the 2010. He will calculate life expectancy by using the population-based ABC country cancer registries by using disability adjusted life years measure, quality adjusted life years, standard period life table, standard cohort life table. And it is show the single period life table. What will be the option? C will be the correct option because
C.
the calendar 2010. This is the key of my MCQ's references, and thank you. Is there is any question?